Notre Dame has added 8 new players out of the NCAA transfer portal for the 2025 football team. 4 of them occurred in December, 4 just this past weekend. So we've already talked about guys like Devonta Smith, Ty Washington, Malachi Fields, and Will Pauling. So in today's video with Jack Sobel, we're going to talk about the 4 from this past weekend. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. And again, going back to the 4 before, you had Will Pauling, slot field receiver from Wisconsin, slot/field receiver, I should say. Malachi Fields, big boundary receiver from Virginia. Ty Washington, a tight end from Arkansas with a couple years of eligibility remaining, and then Devonta Smith, a nickel replacement for Jordan Clark out of Bama, starting a player from Bama last year, should be noted. So let's go through the new ones again here. Jaylen Strowman, who had a really good season in 2023 for Virginia Tech, injured in the season opener against Vanderbilt in 2024, and 1 year of eligibility left, and he's coming to South Bend.
Yeah, and reading some articles out of Virginia Tech, it sounded like they very much missed his loss, and losing him was I don't know about the reason, but a reason they did not have as good of a season as they would have liked in Blacksburg. He, like you wrote, Mike, is a replacement for Xavier Watts' position, but in terms of kind of the dynamic in the room, more of a Rod Hurd type. In that, like, Adon Schuler is obviously going to start at safety for Notre Dame this year. Next year he's been an absolute stud opposite Watts. Strowman will enter the season as the presumed starter, like Hurd did. But if a young player surprises Notre Dame, like I think Schuler did, and beats him out, great. If not, Strowman is going to be a really solid starter for Notre Dame at safety. And even if he doesn't earn the starting role, like Rod Hurd this season, Notre Dame obviously uses 3 safeties a lot on defense, and he will have a role in the season on this team regardless. Pro Football Focus likes him in coverage, 74.1 grade. In his most recent full season in 2021. Like you wrote, Mike, they really liked his tape in 2023, and his injury in 2024 allowed him to not go to the draft but come to Notre Dame.
Yeah, someone who projected to be a day 2 pick, like 4th, 5th round kind of guy. If he would have played well in 2024, who knows? Maybe he could have gotten higher. But that is it for now. And yeah, I think coming to Notre Dame could really raise his profile as well. And you mentioned, I love that you said that on the board over the weekend. Like, hey, let's not forget about guys like a Luke Talich and Kennedy or Urlock or Ben Minnick, who's been playing on special teams, Tay Johnson, who's been out all year, and then you've got Jadon Blair. Dude, Brandon Logan is an absolute stud. So some guys to not forget about when it comes to the safety discussion. Like, Notre Dame will play 3 safeties. Schuler is going to be one. Strowman is going to be one. But there's going to be another. But like what the snap breakdown looks like, we'll see. This was very much needed. 6'2", 305-pounder from Louisville, Jared Dawson. Tell us about him, Jack.
Yeah, Notre Dame needed beef, and they got beef in Jared Dawson. Like I said, 6'2", 305. Mostly a 3 technique at Louisville, playing in that B gap. I think you wrote that Notre Dame likes him.
I think so.
More,
yeah.
Likes him more at the nose tackle position, which I think fits better based on his size profile and kind of what you see on tape. The dude's a bowling ball type. He is great motor. His production is high for his snap count. He was not a starter at Louisville. I look at, you want a recent comparison, not the same position, but kind of a Javonte Jean-Baptiste type, where he was a rotational player at Ohio State, comes to Notre Dame, becomes a starter, balls out. He's now a contributor for the Washington Commanders, who just won a playoff game last night as we're filming this Monday afternoon. So kind of that same mold as far as what Notre Dame's looking for. Big production in limited snap count. See if he can't translate that to a higher snap count at Notre Dame.
I'm glad you mentioned as we're recording this, because as we do record this, Notre Dame has not announced officially, Jack. I don't think any of the 8, definitely not the 4 from the weekend, but like in terms of none of them. So, I mean, I think it's at least 6 of them are already at are already beginning classes. The guy we're going to talk about next, we talked about earlier, Ty Washington, the Arkansas tight end. He's kind of doing the Bo Collins route, where he's at Notre Dame now, but he's not able to go through spring practice because he's still an Arkansas student. So he's like living in South Bend, I'm sure will be around the team, but is going to not officially join, like going through practice and workouts until the summer. That's at least my understanding. It's very similar to what Bo Collins, or exactly what Bo Collins did this time last year. So again, I think it's like 6 or 7 of the 8 portal guys, students right now, will participate in spring ball. Elijah Hughes, this is a pretty interesting one. We very rarely see sophomore, so he's got 2 years of eligibility. And yeah, he's played his freshman and sophomore year at sophomore years at USC. You just don't see underclassmen with 2 years of eligibility. I think it's been a decade since this has happened last.
Yeah, and Hughes is an interesting player. I was talking to Eric McKinney, who's our counterpart at WeRSC on 3's USC site, and he said that Hughes was kind of a surprise contributor, not a ton of snaps, just 88 as a true freshman. When Alex Grinch was fired as defensive coordinator and Danton Lynn took over, it seems like Lynn put much more of an emphasis on size. And Hughes isn't small; he's 6'3", 290, but Lynn put much more of an emphasis on size at the D tackle position, thinking like 320-pounders, that kind of thing. And Hughes didn't make the second year leap a lot of people in Southern California expected him to. Whereas Notre Dame, on the other hand, has had a lot of success with defensive tackles who aren't the biggest guys. Like even Riley Mills, I think, is a little bit short of 300. Howard Cross obviously is a shorter dude. Donovan Heinisch is a smaller dude, but all he does is produce when he plays. And Heinisch, Rubio, and Dawson will probably be the top 3 defensive tackles next year. But Hughes is a guy, this is a direct quote from McKinney. Hughes always seemed to be in the middle of everything when he was on the field. Biggest pluses are work ethic and motor. Just tenacious, does not stop working. Definitely something to work with. Could see making an impact at Notre Dame. So Hughes kind of strikes me as a defensive version of Ty Washington, who they took. Both have 2 years of eligibility. Kind of guys like depth body. The floor is a depth body at a position that needs him. The ceiling is that there's upside to work with in 2 years to bring it out.
Yeah, great take, Jack. My thought is, from describing him, kind of sounds like Donovan Heinisch, but a little bit just naturally bigger.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's a really good take. And again, you can find this story that Jack's kind of referenced a couple times when he said, like, you wrote, Mike, over at blueandgold.com, wrote about intel on the 4 new transfer portal edition. So if you like this video, hopefully you've already hit the thumbs up on this video if you liked it, but you can go to blueandgold.com. $1 for 7 days is our offer for you guys ahead of the January 20th national championship game. So Elijah Hughes and Jared Dawson, they're going to be contributors for Notre Dame, obviously, next season. You combine that with Gabe Rubio has told us that he's coming back. He said that ahead of the Sugar Bowl. Donnie Heinisch, of course, and then maybe you get a younger guy to kind of step up, and you could have, potentially a 5-man rotation. So we will see about that, but certainly 4 for now. And then last but certainly not least, kickers do matter as well. 4 years in a row that the Irish have taken a transfer portal kicker. You had, see if I can remember this off the top of my head, Blake Grupe to you had Spencer Schrader to Mitch Jeter, and to now Noah Bernett from North Carolina. Jack, hope you have his stats pulled up, because he has just been electric for the Tar Heels. And you usually don't use the word electric with a kicker, but you would with him. He's been very good.
Yeah, and like you said, Mike, kickers do matter. We've seen that in the postseason with Mitch Jeter, with Mitch Jeter, excuse me. Notre Dame did not acquire Jeter for games like Army. They acquired him for games like Texas A&M, Georgia, and Penn State, and he is 8 for 8 in those games, and he was obviously huge in the Sugar and Orange Bowls. Bernett is interesting because he was 15 of 21 on field goal attempts last season, which is good, not great. It's certainly serviceable. But in 2023, 19 of 20. He was absolutely nails in 2023. So if he can get back to that form, Notre Dame has an excellent kicker on its hands. One interesting note, he did not handle kickoffs the past 2 seasons at North Carolina. He did in 2022 with 29 touchbacks and 57 attempts, but I'm interested to see kind of how Notre Dame handles that position. Maybe it's Eric Schmidt, the big leg kicker in the 2025 class. Maybe Burnett goes back to that role. Maybe it's some walk on that we're not thinking of, but it's just an interesting note there. But again, the gist of it with Burnett is solid in 2024, excellent in 2023.
Yeah. And so I think he's, and in 2022, each of those years he's been over 70%, if I recall correctly. So that's really good. So folks, hit the thumbs up on this video. That's 8 transfer portal additions for the Fighting Irish. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Head to blueandgold.com for so much more coverage, and we'll catch you next time.